On the subject of that, the Metanoia Health Program or Holistic Health Program is live. You can find it in the description in the link below, which will take you to the site from which you can purchase that. And today's guest on this episode is Johan Carlaby, who was my manager, PT manager, so personal training manager at Sats Sulbyplass here in Oslo. And we talk about his journey, how he got into movement, how he looks at health in a different way, what changed his life, what changed his mind, what changed his heart, and how that all came to be. And then we discuss everything, like how we met and how things changed for him, and then where he is now and what's next. So I very much enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you guys will do that as well. Alrighty, we are recording. So today I'm joined by Johan Carlaby, a dear friend of mine. We when we met, we'll get into that. We hit it off because we kind of were already aligned in our ways of thinking. So Johan is working as a personal trainer and an online coach, which has a very holistic and a very broad approach with some more emphasis on mobility, strength, and just general capacity, right? So for people that have restrictions or are just unstable and perhaps even weak, right? So you do a lot of work with that, and he's building out several concepts that we'll get into as the podcast rolls on. So thanks for coming on, Johan. Let's get into it, bro. So if we
thank you.
if we just start from the beginning, let's talk a little bit about just growing up in Sweden and your sports environment, right? So your activity level. Let's just start there.
Yeah, absolutely. I was playing a lot of sports when I was a kid. Of course, soccer or football. Ice hockey, bandy that we call it. It's outside on a rink. It's as big as a soccer field, but you shoot on it. Most and foremost, that's what I was doing when I was a kid, and we, of course, we always played a lot of inline hockey and football. Outside of that, so I was the place where I grew up was everything was built at the same time. But there was loads of kids on the same spot that we always I always hung out with and played with.
Yeah,
a lot of spontaneous movement in when I was a kid. Yeah,
that's awesome, because that's also the beauty of growing up in Sweden, right? So each season has kind of its own thing. If it's winter, you have your ice hockey. If it's summer and spring, you have your field hockey, right? You can go ski in this in the winters. You have all the options. People that aren't very familiar with the Sweden geographics, they have the beautiful lakes, as you can see behind Johan, right? So and the beautiful forests, so they can go swim, hike, etc. Right, so it contributes to their general well-being, right? And I guess in those types of towns as well, a lot of the kids are just kind of central, right? I mean, everybody kind of goes to the same school, sort of. There's not that much choice in where you go do your activities, right?
No, and Sweden is what I think it's the only one of the countries that kids have to go to school. It's mandatory from the government. So you hang out a lot with kids all the time. From your now my son is 2. He started at 1.5 in kindergarten. So outside all the time.
Nice.
I was looking at just a fun fact. I was looking at a Russian experiment. They said in this pod that kids are sleeping outside.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that we've been doing that in Sweden forever, also, of course, because it's so the kids, we just pack them in with blankets and stuff, and they sleep outside all year round, even if we have now -30 basically.
Yeah. So for people like especially Belgians, that might sound extremely weird. So the reason that they do that is to acclimate their respiratory system and all other systems basically to the temperature outside, right? So it's a cold exposure done in a smart fashion, right? Because as Johan said, they're in blankets, they're not outside, they're in no danger, right? No kids are harmed.
no kids are harmed. We've been doing this for forever. I believe that they sleep so much better outside as well. So because you can see a big difference if Luke's sleeping inside for 40 minutes, but if it's outside and hear the wind and the birds and everything, he sleep for 1.5 hours and he's like waking up cute as a bear, and inside he can wake up after 40 minutes, not be that rested and a little bit cranky.
Gotcha. All right. So as your interest in sports evolved, what was kind of let's say the moment where your paradigm kind of shifted, or actually the inception of the idea came from, like, oh, maybe I want to do something with sports, like as a more professional thing, let's say?
Yeah. I always been a helper. I realized even when I was I was 13 or 14 years old, I helped out with floorball teams in the school. I helped the younger guys, and that also happened when I was 19, 20. I helped out because then I stopped playing hockey myself because I broke my arm, and I stopped. And they asked me if I wanted to be a coach at a hockey team, so I helped out there as well. I didn't know back then that I was going to be a professional in sports because I wanted to be a teacher. But when I turned 24, I got asked from I look at as a mentor of mine. He asked me if I could help out because he knew then I read anatomy in the University of Karlstad to become a teacher. So when he asked me, I was like, yeah, I want to work. I want to work here, helping out in the gym instead. So I was around 24, but especially I had a mentor alongside because I loved training. I loved movement. I didn't want to. I always say that back in the 90s, everyone did hypertrophy or went to the group classes. So I became a group trainer at the start. So I was a body pump trainer or body pump coach for 7 years for a while before I moved to Norway. But at 24, then I went back to school. I had a break. And I went back to school, but then I realized I want to work with training it. Yeah. It's I was so stiff. So I believe when Stig helped me, and I was stiffer than all the seniors as a 24-year-old because I had to keep his classes going when he was on vacation, and he had stretch classes or flexibility classes with all the seniors at Mondays and Fridays, and it was so much fun. Old people are so much fun. They give they are direct. You get to know if you're doing something wrong, if you're the wrong exercise at that moment, because he had the same exercise pattern all the time. But also they give so much back when they start to trust you and they start to believe that you also are here and willing to help them with where. And I believe that gave me so much joy. Yeah. So I started to do my flexibility routes then as well, because I live as I teach.
Yeah.
And I was stiffer than all of them. I couldn't even touch my knees at the 24-year-old. I couldn't touch my knees.
It's
yeah.
Man.
I was so stiff when I think back now. I mean, I couldn't flex my hip. Just rounded my back a little bit. It was ridiculous. Yeah.
You got into the game early, right? Especially when the conditions in the 90s, as you said, like there was not that much focus on any of these things. Like we'll get into mobility later, but flexibility was something that was regarded for not even women. It's just kind of something that it wasn't even really being done. You know what I mean? Like in the 90s, you had aerobics, right? Which is the Jane Fonda style stuff that people were doing. But
I mean, this was the 2005, but still, like you said,
coming out of the 90s, like the late 90s into the early 2000s, it was still nowhere. Like yoga was barely making like an appearance, right? It just kind of snowballed a little bit after that.
It was a few people doing yoga. It was, I mean, they were hippies.
Yeah, it was still extremely obscure and like weird.
Yeah. And
back in the day.
Yeah, and everyone looked weirdly towards those people because they were the outsiders then.
Yeah. Crazy to reflect on these things and like how much has changed in that regard.
Absolutely.
From there on out, because then you did the school, or you stopped school again and you just worked with Stig, or how did that process go?
I had a break for 1.5-2 years, and then I went back to school, and I continued doing school because I thought that's what I wanted to do. But in order to have, there's only 2 schools in Sweden that you can read to become a PE teacher, and that's in Örebro or in Stockholm, and I went in Karlstad, so you had to have 2 different classes, subjects, basically. And I knew that I want to be a PE teacher, but I didn't know what I want to do except that. So I started also to becoming a Swedish teacher, but then the information got out that if you had 1 pupil in every year that converts from sitting in front of the computer basically to becoming interested in physical education or any sports or activity, then you have succeeded. And I was like, okay, one of the biggest I was working at or practicing and working at one of the biggest schools in Sweden. Then we had like 300 every year. There was 300 new pupils that you as a teacher had, and I was like, can't really live with those percentages. One person out of 300. So in 2010, I went to get a truck license so I can move to Oslo, because every Swede knows that if you get a truck license, you getting a job in Norway. So then 2 weeks before I moved to Norway in 2010, in the middle of January, Elixia, former Sats, half of Sats in Norway, they put out the advertisement on the Swedish workplace, or in a job place, and it was filled with, we need personal trainers. So I made a search or application and sent it in. So the 1st of February, I was at Elixia Kolberner, and I did my interview. And the 8th of February 2010, I started to work as a full-time
Nice.
Personal
All
trainer. I was working 4 days, and I was 4 days a week, Monday to Thursdays, and Friday, Saturday, I went out to Grorud and worked as a truck driver.
Nice. All right. So for the people that don't know, right? So Carlaby is on the east of Oslo. That gym is actually one of the first Elixia gyms that I ever saw.
Yeah.
Which is, coincidental. And I met Kira there whilst I was doing a workout. We can get into that later. But the state of the Elixia gyms, they were really leading the curve when it came to like strength and performance in their gyms, right? Whereas Sats was, well, not geared towards that, let's say. It was very much more machines and cardio, whereas Elixia was rigs, weightlifting platforms, some machines, of course, and some cardio machines, but it had a much bigger emphasis on, we want to give you guys the opportunity to do performance work, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of had a split between the two.
And I think that Elixia was so good at personal training. Sats was more working with the group training. So, I guess that's also, like you said, was founded in the gym that we have machines here, and then you can go to group classes, or you have you still had a lot of group classes in Elixia, but we had a really good gear, like you said. Really
exactly good. And it really showed in the quality of the personal trainers, and of course, like, because the environment is structured towards that, whereas the Sats environment wasn't structured towards that, right? It was very different coming into this, the Sats that I started working in, and we'll get into how me and Johan met there later. But it had a mini rig, like it was super small, and it only had one floor, which was the machines and the cardio stuff. So it was just kind of like, when we were, I think back in the day, right? Again, when I started 2015, there were like 8 or 10 personal trainers, and we had to share this space. It was just like, it just didn't work very well. Whilst when I reflected on, like, Carlaby, where Johan worked, they had space and equipment. I was like, come on, guys.
Share some.
Exactly. But in any case, like, let's talk a little bit about like how that period went, right? So your first couple of years or months or whatever you want to emphasize as a personal trainer.
Yeah. I'm going to start my what do you call it? The health journey by myself in the physical or a psychic department, because I wasn't feeling very good. I was 29 years old, moving to Norway, and was turning 30 soon, and quit school, and just took the train. I was jumping on the train, and I had this I needed to make it. I needed to make a career from the norm. I mean, okay, you quit school, now what? That was my goal, just to grind. I need to make this, and I realized that from that year and a half at in Sweden with Stig, I realized, and I had some hockey team. Then I realized that this is what I want to do with my life. So when I came to Carlaby and I got the job, it was like, I'm gonna make this. I was grinding. I didn't have any money, so I had this 19 hours turnus with very low payment or salary. So I sorry, I started to freeze here in the shadows. But so I went to work around 7 in the morning, up probably around 9 in the beginning, and then I stayed to lunch Then I jogged home to Santashauen, and then I walked back, trained, and stayed on at the gym to around 9 in the evening, just so everybody knew who I was at the gym. So it was a solid grind, just to get clients in the beginning, and it took me a couple of months, or it took me a couple of weeks just to get my first client. And I remember how weird it felt to sell myself. I'm gonna help this person, so someone's gonna rely on me, putting money, so I can help them with training. But then one client, then it went to 2 clients and 3 clients, and always Fridays, Saturdays went to Grorud to putting working as a truck driver or filling up. I can't remember what it's called. Putting out groceries to the stores.
Yeah.
Coop. Coop. I had there was some I had really good friends working with me, but I didn't really, I went to work and went home directly. The only thing was in my mind that I was going to make this. So 10, 12 hours a day, just going to work and went home. But I had some really good friends that I was working with. Amir, for instance, became my Iranian brother, and he was making it. He was delivering above 100 hours, I remember. But everyone was telling me that you should have ended up on the west side of Oslo because it's easier there. I was like, can't stop me. I need to make this.
No.
Yeah. So I was just grinding, and then it was some turbulence at Elixir Colbert then, because the real boss, or the head of us, she was home with her baby. So we had another woman, and it didn't. She was really good. I heard. I didn't know her, but she was really good at group training. But as a boss, not very good. So we had. It came in another boss to us, and he was fantastic at leading people. He was fantastic. So he told me one day that you have enough clients now, so you can really stay here all the time. Don't quit your job at Grorud and just stay here. But I was afraid I didn't gonna make it. The comfort zone, have enough payment, making it so you can pay rent and have food on the table. But he was like, okay, give me this for a month. You're gonna say hi to everyone here. Don't care if it's another person's client. Just be happy and say hi to everyone. And it took me a month. Then I had enough clients for me to really like, okay, now I can 100% focus on this. So he helped me a lot on the jumping on board the next train. Just fulfilling the dream of working as a full-time PT. And of course, Amish, he made it. So I had to deliver more hours than him than I making it. So that was my drive. If Amir hadn't been there, it wouldn't have gone. I'm a competitive type of guy in some cases. In some cases, and yeah, so that made me really get my focus on.
Yeah. And it is, like Johan said, it is a grind, and technically it really doesn't matter if it is the East or the West, right? Because there's plenty of PTs like myself that have struggled in the West, regardless of having more people there with more money. Like that doesn't matter. It's still the client, the person, right? The individual themselves and where they're at and what they want that matters the most, and not if they have the money. Because I had a bunch of clients that lived in the West but weren't making a lot of money, but still valued their health and fitness level to prioritize having a personal trainer, right? So, which is not very weird anymore in Oslo.
But it's also the excuses, that you make up. If you or any other PT or any other won't make it where you are, to you as a person to really make up the excuses that, okay, if I don't make it, it's not because of me. It's because I'm on the wrong side of the town. I believe that it was, you know how it is. It's easy to make it instead of doing the grind or get out of the comfort zone and stuff like that. But that's what I heard all the time, that you can make it here. And I was like, I'm here to prove you wrong because I need it. I need this. Yeah. So I'm here to prove you wrong because I don't have any option. And I really love. We're gonna get back to that because I really love. I realize that that's something that really makes me thrive and makes me get after things if I don't have an option. And I really love that. Even sometimes I even thinking of putting myself in that position, so I get my warrior going.
Yeah. But that's exactly, it's a driving mechanic, right? If there's no other option, then you're gonna put everything in and invest and sacrifice to make it work. And a lot of people, like, if we speak in a neurological sense about it, like everything is either based on necessity or curiosity, but necessity is the major driver. And if you can create necessity, right, either from yourself internally or by structuring your environment in such a way externally that it forces you to make it work, then you will, right? People throughout history have made things work that just are unbelievable, and we shared that, right? Because I also came to Norway, became a personal trainer. I was like, I have to make this work. Like, I don't have anything. I don't want to go back to Belgium because I want to be here. And like, I need to make it work. And that's, what we did.
Yeah. But I also believe that, that option, we can see it in our field a lot, because most people, I would say 99.9% of people that come to me, because I'm working with like the rehab and the health and that department, it's like more than sport specifics and stuff like that. I believe also that you have the same options when you're getting injured, when you're having inflammations and stuff like that, because then you have one option. Okay, I can just walk around with this pain, or I have the other option. I can go to someone that really can help me. And it's the same thing, but most of us wait so long, so we need that option before we deal with the issue.
I need to come to a level of need, whether it's through frustration or pain or a negative emotion that becomes a driver for change eventually. As it loads up. And continuing the story, basically, when did you, because then like things were going fine at Carl Berner for a while, right? But then eventually you decided to move on and come to Suliplus, right? So what was what happened there?
I stayed at Carl Berner for 5 years. And all of a sudden I went to another place to have a cup of coffee with a friend. And that place all of a sudden I went there to have a coffee with board, and all of a sudden I sat in a new interview, basically, because they needed more PTs. They promised me golden, what do you call it? Green woods, we say here in Sweden.
Yeah.
Guld och gröna skogar. So I was done at Carl basically. Even if I had then Kyrre came to a really good friend of mine and Lasse, so I had a really great time at Carl, but the thing was that I asked myself, do I just want to make more money staying here at Carl because I didn't have to chase any more clients. People just came in and they want to train with me because I've been there for so long.
The challenge was gone.
Yeah, exactly. The challenge was gone, and also I want to do something else. I want to be more. And the money has never been except for that time when I moved to Oslo and I needed the money because I need to pay rent and have food on my table. When I had so much clients at Carl, it was like, do I want to stay here at this floor forever, or do I want to proceed? Yeah. Even if I do the same stuff at a different place, we had some kompetenslyft. It's like, we had Wednesdays to learn new stuff and give to each other as a PT crew, and even people came in and talked about different, like coaching, like endurance work and people from other fields in the health and the sports department or field. So I could get some more information and more. I want to be more, not just have more money.
Yeah.
I want to become a better personal trainer so I could help more people. That's what I'm trying to say. I didn't like it there at all, so I stayed there for 5 months, and then I moved back to Sweden, to my hometown, because I went to become a hockey coach again, or the strength and conditioning coach for Färjestad, their junior team, and they are really, really good. Some of those guys are today NHL and AHL players.
Nice.
Yeah, really nice, and also in the top league of Sweden. So I went there for 6 months, just to. Then they went back to the ice, and I had less time with the guys and more time as a personal trainer in Karlstad, and I romanticized my hometown, like I heard a lot of people do when they move back home. Sorry, now I'm moving because I'm freezing like crazy in the shadows.
It's all right, man. Move around.
So I stayed for 6 months in Karlstad, and I realized that it wasn't the place, because most of the PTs there also, they didn't have that drive. They didn't have that. They were done. They went to the PT education, helped some people, and then they were done. And I was like, no, I can't be here. So then I contacted my former boss, and he helped me out, because they needed a PT leader at Solly. And I was like, hell yeah, I want to help other personal trainers, so they can be proud as I am over the work I'm doing, and also I want to help people so they have a better, they love their job as much as I do. And then I got a job and went to Soliplatz at December of 2015, I believe it was.
Yeah.
First of December, I started at Soliplatz.
That was
met you, Sim.
Good times, right? And that was when we met, and like that was also like from there on out, like because of you. When you came in, you were really was super engaged, and you were like, all right, because you assessed where my shortcomings were, and like, okay, we're gonna work on this and we're gonna work on that. You were super hands-on, and like we spent a lot of time not necessarily training together, but like training at the same time, and then like just talking to each other during sets and stuff like that. And you took your leader role exactly the way it should have been taken, right? You're super leading from the front, and like you're very engaged with all the PTs, but especially me. And we had a lot of commonalities coming from this, like see, you had done some CrossFit, so you knew about ring work and gymnastics, and I was mainly into the body weight stuff, so we were talking a lot about that and playing together with handstands and the like.
I also met Ido before that in the late at Carl Berner when Ido went to Oslo in 2013. So that's when we went more into the rings and that work. Even if I did CrossFit earlier, I was walking away from that and more into because I realized then if I can't control my own body, why the hell am I trying to work on these weights?
Exactly.
Trying to control them when I can't work when I can't control myself. Yeah.
And then, like, that's where we meshed really well, right? Because I had some like just kind of prior like entry level mobility knowledge, and you came with stuff from Ido, and you came with stuff from CrossFit, and you came with a more holistic approach to movement that was very complementary to what I was already doing and the way I was thinking. And we were just like, oh my God, like, what the fuck? Like, where have you been all this time? And I came in and kind of changed the culture in the sense that it had more, I was doing some, like I said, rudimentary mobility that I had before, but focused on a lot more of the body weight stuff. So I was already playing around with like some Ido Portal movement stuff. But when you came in, that's when like the Soliplatz culture really started changing towards like movement, mobility, and a lot of the PTs, picked that up, and you spent a lot of time educating us on these things, right? We had our own like little PT crew meetings where we were doing, you're running us through movements and concepts and mechanics of things.
I also believe that a friend of mine here, where I live now in Umeå, he told me, and also a client told me that I never saw before, that it's a big, I have a big gift that I see potential in people. But that could also be my burden, because I can see potential, but it's not always that I see that or can teach the other person that so they can see the potential, because I'm getting really like, okay, let's do this, and I can teach you this. But then that person might not be at that point where I see them. Anyway, I saw your potential, and I also saw, that's why I started with CrossFit in 2010. I went away in 2013 because I didn't believe in that movement anymore. I believe in CrossFit. I believe in every movement. I believe in strongman. I believe in everything, but most of all, I believe in function in the body. So you need to have that first. But I think that because you were already doing a lot of good, really good stuff, but the other PT, because you were so young then, the other PTs didn't recognize that you were on the right path. So I believe that you also, because then they saw when I came in and we talked the same language, you and I believe that they saw that you were already on that path, and they were like, "Whoa, wait a minute, he's been doing it for some while now. We haven't reckoned it." Yeah, so I believe there was also a foundation that we created together, because when you and I both did the same thing, basically, the rest of the crew could get on it.
Yeah, for sure. And to give people a little bit of background, like at that time, so I was 24 when I moved, so I turned 25. And like I was the youngest PT like in Suli Plus at that time. Like there was nobody younger than me. Everyone was already more advanced age, right? Because coming in as a 24, 25-year-old, if people are in their 30s, you're like, whoa, right?
Yeah.
And exactly like Johan said, like your credibility level, even if you're proficient, because I was doing like, I mean, not super amazing stuff, but I could do a human flag, I could do back levers, I could do handstands, I could do some like more, not necessarily advanced pulling, but I was pretty strong in my pulling work, right? So in any case, and that kind of, as Johan said, like Johan coming in and like me and him talking the same language and performing similar stuff kind of finally gave me like a notch on my belt. And it also gave me, because I think what was lacking in that thing is because there was such a disparity between me and the rest that I felt very insecure, because I was bringing this new thing, and that it wasn't really, with my clients as well, it was not a hard sell per se, but it was a different approach. And it wasn't until Johan had spent time with me and he was like, you got in clients pretty fast, and then you had good results with them also really fast, and I was like, I need to get on that train. Hello. But that him then taking me through that process made me, and being on that same path made me more secure and helped me immensely with being able to sell myself, which was a huge thing, like Johan experienced in the beginning, where I was like, okay, you know, you need to sell yourself here. Like, how do you do that, right? But it's based on your belief in yourself and your approach and your ability to get results, which again, like if we backtrack, I wasn't really present because of just me being so different from everyone else. So when Johan kind of took me under his wing and saw my potential and, you know, brought his mentoring to the table, it really kicked off for me personally. And that time until you left is without the doubt the best time I had in Suli Plus. Because when we can get into when Johan leaves later, but that was like the golden period of Suli Plus for myself, and I know for a lot of other PTs as well.
We have to, or I have to lift this, that I'm really a soft guy. When you start to talk about this, I'm starting to cry here. It's because it means, and you know this, it means so much to me that I had, because I always believe that I do what I do. And to have impact on people like that, as you say, I never see it that way.
It's also hard to see it as it is happening, right?
Yeah, super hard, but still, I still have a hard time taking it in. There was something I wanted to say about that, because it's the same thing now. Even if it come when the journey continues, we're coming. When I moved again, I realized that it's the same thing, because I do what no one else does, and you do what most people do. I mean, we do what most people don't do, and but when you're having the experience and you have done it a couple of times, it's so much easier to just rely on your competence and your wisdom, more wisdom that it's okay. I'm gonna make it.
Yeah.
Because so hard, and maybe we should throw it out there to new PTs that just believe. If you were, I always say, if someone's new and asks for advice, it's like, just do you. Do you. Even whatever you like, even if you like aerobics, do aerobics.
Yeah.
You gotta attract people that love aerobics too.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna shit on aerobics, but you know what I'm saying here. It's like, do what you love and believe in.
Yeah. I want to add to that like that belief element, and also a little bit of like, you're at that beginning of the Dunning-Kruger curve where you have to have a slight disillusion that you are good, and like you are good enough. That's true, but you need to think just slightly above, like, yeah, of course I can do this. You need to be slightly disillusioned with yourself to start that process, because you're gonna go through that curve. But you need to believe, if you're, let's say, a further line of thinking is that, aside from the disillusion, that you need to be able to go to that curve and look at it and go like, wherever I am is okay, because I have the capacity to grow, and I believe I can be better, right? And I believe that even with the tools that I have right now, I can do a good job. And as I grow and develop, I can do a better job, right? So that's the next level to that, because I came in pretty disillusioned. I was like, I can do this. And then, I struggled really hard. And then you came in, and then I was already coming up on the other side of the curve. I was like, oh, thank fucking God. Great, and then I found that belief in myself. But it's the golden tip in this case, as you said, like believing in yourself. Like, if you don't believe in yourself, you're not even going to attempt to do the thing. And if you don't believe in yourself, that's an energy or a vibe, right? A posture, an approach, behaviorism that you're giving off, that people read off of you non-verbally.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 100%. And it's you can, I mean, we talk about if someone is unhappy, or someone have anxiety, or someone have don't feel good, you can see it. I mean, you see it as soon as they walk in through the door. You can see if someone's not in the right place, or in balance with himself or herself. And it's the same thing on the opposite side. When you glow, when you're super happy and everything is going so well, you just attract people. And also, I mean, if you can lie to yourself about this too. Just lie to yourself that you believe in yourself, and it will happen eventually.
Yeah.
So that's also a tip.
Totally.
Yeah.
And as your journey, right? Because you brought Suli Plus. I mean, it wasn't struggling per se. Was it just not really hitting the marks necessarily? You brought it to, I mean, 100% the peak. I don't think it ever reached that point again when you left, and we went through several managers, right? So that being said, like, being at the peak of the Suli Plus, delivering hours and pride and stuff like that, how did that make you feel, right? How did that contribute to your taking that leader position?
That's the thing. It's like it means so much more to me that you guys, you and some other, had your, I mean, that you really, I gave you so much so you can express yourself and felt and develop. That means so much more than the statistics, because what I realized in that 1.5 years at the leader is that I'm a good leader. I'm a shitty boss. I realized that sitting in front of the computer, making mails, standing in the reception, and all that, excuse me, bullshit, I can't do that. I can't do that. I mean, my boss,
Mm.
the head of it, he was. I believe his frustration about me.
Yeah, I want to add to that Johan is a great boss, but then coming down, right, from the top looking down, it was like on the employee level for the top, right? It wasn't fantastic because Johan didn't give a shit about the numbers, which was actually paradoxical because in our first meeting, you're like, okay, guys, listen, I don't want to talk about these numbers at all. And honestly, I don't care. Like, I'm just here to help you guys. And we were all like, all right. Right. And paradoxically, it worked because he worked, or it's not a paradox. Like, what Johan did was came in, right, and worked on the human level, who we are as people. And because we got to be better in tune with how we work, how we sell, how we show up in the gym, and how we work in the gym, that eventually got us to get more clients, bill more hours, right, and deliver more. Because I was delivering 120 hours ish every month, which was huge, right? After being broke and destitute for a while, me as like a newer PT in a year, something delivering 120 hours was an awesome turnaround. And the other new PTs, because then a new load came, we're also delivering like 70 all the way up to 100 for being in the gym a few months, which was epic, right? So that's hence me saying the peak. And why I wanted to elaborate on that, he did a great job as a leader and as a boss just for us. And the chain benefited from it, but they didn't really get that, like, oh yeah, I'll just do what you tell me. Like he wasn't a pawn, right?
No, and I believe, because that's how I want to see it. And I also tried to, because I think we were 11 or 12 when I came in.
12,
and
yeah.
I also, yeah. And I also wanted to, for those 12 that we were, I'd rather have those 12 to stay there for the rest of their lives and have a good workplace instead of having 20 PhDs that deliver the same amount. Because I want to help you. Like I said, I wanted you to feel good, because if you feel good, you do good. Instead of the total opposite.
Yep.
Because I didn't care for numbers. I did because I didn't want to have people yelling at me, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't.
But then moving on from that, what eventually drove the decision to move on?
Well, I fell in love.
It's a good story.
It's first of all, I when I realized that my job wasn't to help you guys, my job was to get numbers and also stand in the reception and answering emails from members. I started to lower my percentage as a leader, working more as a personal trainer. And then I was single back then. I didn't. The thing was that I was at a really bad place myself. As my personal self, not working, but I was in a really bad place. I didn't knew who I was when I was told. So I did this basically the same thing at Colbert, as I went to work and then I had to go home. And even if my colleagues asked me for going to parties and do stuff, I always said yes, but I couldn't do it because I got anxiety when the Saturday evening or Friday evening hit. But then I found myself, and I went on Tinder, and I, together with a friend of mine, I went 1 weekend in Oslo and 1 weekend in Karlstad. And I matched up with this woman that I call wife today, or wife. It was her first Tinder date and my first Tinder date. So we had a cup of coffee, and we met after a wedding. She was on a wedding after we had coffee on a Saturday, and she was going to a wedding, and I was going out dancing with my friend. And then she came and picked us up. So we went out to the wedding, looking like two bikers, because I had a big beard back then, and Kalle had even a bigger beard and a leather jacket on him, gumball leather jacket. So then I fell in love like instantly. Amanda just turned down the wall I created for myself, because I felt so secure then. I was single 2.5 years, and then I felt so secure. But she just threw them down. So that happened. I was staying at Solly for another 8 months, I think, after we fell in love. Dating back and forth between Oslo and Vännäs outside of Umeå. And then I moved there in the Easter of 2017. I moved up in the northern part of Sweden. Cold as fudge in the winter time.
Yes.
I've never been. It's like I've never been in the northern part of Sweden earlier. If you live in the middle part of Sweden and the lower part of Sweden, you think you have been in some sort of the northern part of Sweden, but you haven't. It's from where we are now, where I was born. Basically, it's 900 kilometers to where we live now.
For people that aren't aware, Sweden is a very long country, and it's huge. But because then when you moved, you also started working in the gym there as a personal trainer.
First of all, I want to make a PT education. I started that and sat down in. I didn't know where to start when I moved. I had no idea where I was gonna start. So I started. I tried to sit down and write PT education and like that. So then I sent out some emails and I got to start at the CrossFit box in Umeå. And they were super friendly. It felt like home right away because those guys that have boxen in Umeå are super good people, super friendly, and it felt really good right away. It's like a kindergarten for grown-ups, and that's what I love about. That's how it's supposed to be when you're in training facilities. Even if people want to work out really hard when they're there, it's just friendly people.
Yeah, man. And that's also where you started tinkering with your approach, right? And started maybe shifting your focus a little bit in the type of people you wanted to help, right? Away from the sport specific stuff and more, right, helping people with their physical limitations, let's say.
It's since I'm older, getting older and older, I just realized that I want to help people don't be old as fast as we are. Have another approach on how to, not how to live their life, but you can have small. We should go back to the hunter-gathering type of human beings that we're supposed to do. So that's why we should fix the body first, and then people can do what they want. That's what I believe in. Fix the joints, fix the train or work out the opposite what you do during the day, basically. So you can have a good life. Absolutely. That's I turned my or changed my perception on how to work with people. Definitely. Especially when, I mean, CrossFitters do CrossFit, yoga people do yoga, people that run a lot runs a lot. So I'm just here to do the basics, that everything works. So people can do what they love to do.
Yeah, man. I mean, we get a little bit of an insight into what inspired that line of thinking, but you've also been doing a lot of educating and reading on everything, whether it's, you know, mobility and everything else. So where did that kind of originate from, in that ancestral line of thinking? Like, oh, you know, we're kind of disconnected from how our bodies have evolved and how we should live. So
Amanda, my wife, she when we met and I moved up, she started to she went to school, or she did the education about nutrition and more like healing the body from inside with food, or with nutrition. So we got the same concept about when we talked about when she was reading. It's the same thing. Training from the inside, mental health, eat so you feel good, getting rid of information. So a lot of stuff that she learned, I could apply, and vice versa into the work. And then you realize, because from when I turned maybe 35 or 34 or something, when I went home to Karlstad, especially from Kolberner, because I worked so much there. I worked all the time, 5-6 days a week, 12 hours a day. It was like when I got home and take a walk in the forest, it was always so calm. I always re-energized. So when I moved up to Venice, it's I felt it even more. Even if it's a 10,000 people place, it's still so much green, so much lakes, so much woods, so much this.
Yes.
And the experience of eating better makes you feel better. Walking in the forests makes you feel better. It's not that hard to just explain that to people, that you can, if you've been to work a whole day and eat like this, you will feel better and stuff like that. You don't have to do everything right away. Takes time, but I just want, like, I want you guys to feel better. As when I was your leader, that's what I want to help people, just to feel better. Because you make decisions, if you don't have that blurriness in your mind, you will make decision that you will feel better, and you can make decision that you actually want to start playing the guitar because you wanted it all your life. And make decision that you want stuff or do stuff for. I believe that body and soul is connected, especially through my own experience of anxiety attacks and stuff like that, and also being around it. So and then when you start to read, you get more into that everything is connected. And we are connected with nature. I mean, I said for a long time that we are monkeys, and I believe it even more. We're hunter-gatherers. So that's why I want to help want to do what we call people's health and folkhälsa.
Yeah.
Because I believe that we are on the totally wrong path.
And
we are on the right path.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of the approach, right? So we can overlay that same thinking, as Johan said, like when he came into PT or like to lead us, it wasn't to give us like PT us, it was to make us feel better, right? And it's going away from his old approach, which is, let's say, like exercise reductionism. Like, I'm gonna train you, you know, like I need to train, I need to do these exercises, and we have this hour, and I fell in that trap as well. And it's like instead of helping that person that's coming in to feel better. And his new approach and his new environment, right, and the way you're doing things now allows you to work from the humane level, which is the most fundamental level, emotion and feeling, and then work your way up from there, right?
Yeah, and especially I always say nowadays, I want to teach you. This is an education. Most of the clients I have, I sell them a year.
Yes.
A year PT, and that's it. Yeah. I also, when I went to FRC course, we talk about the adaptation of the body 6 to 8 months. I heard this since the beginning of time, that if you start to eat a diet, not going on a diet, but if you start to eat a specific diet, it takes at least, give it 6 months.
Yeah.
So when you add up all of these tips that you collected through all these years, you start to see that it's the same thing in everything.
Yes.
It's like you have 20 minutes every day working out for your lymphatic system. You have 20 minutes every day for your cognitive function. Every small tips is the same tips for different kind of stuff.
Yep.
And when you realize that, it's, I always say, like I said, I'm gonna give you an education. You have to do the work. But I can educate you and I can help you along the way.
Yeah. We came to very similar conclusions, like having a very, like now we have a very similar approach, because I went through that same thing. Like the more I learned, I was like, I need to have people on for 1 year, which is what I do, either a year or 2 year. And then because we came to the same, if the information is the same in that sense, like set points start changing after a year, right? You can have a lot of progress in a short time, but that doesn't mean the set points, fat mass, muscle mass, cognitive function, hormonal baselines, that those have changed. Because adaptation on the long term, or just in general, to get long-term results, take this moving of the set point and the baseline, which takes a lot of time, because you need to convince the baseline or the set point that this is the new normal, right? And it will only do that if the information is dominant. And that only happens by doing it consistently over a long time. And that's why you can get a quick results, like 3 months, but you will bounce back right up to where you were before, because the set point never changed. And that's like the biggest stumbling block for people is, you know, the industry selling this idea of fast transformations, but they're completely unsustainable. Whilst if we look at this approach, if you take the long format approach, long-term approach, and you change these baselines, then you have sustainable change, right? It only happens because the set point and the baseline in the body want efficiency. And efficiency is, okay, 90% of my information is this, so I am adapted towards that, and I'm not wasting any energy, right? If we change the information, you need to change it long enough to convince the system to adapt to it. This, I need to be efficient and adapted to this. If I'm adapted to this, I'll be efficient, thus allowing me to stay in that new set point and that baseline, right? So it's highly important if people are looking for sustainable results.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows how how much time it takes to build a new routine. There you have it. It takes a lot of time to build new routines. I mean, just get up 10 minutes earlier to work, and you're like, okay, I'm totally stressed out by this. So yeah, and nicely put. That's how we think. It's like, I mean, to help people from the ground and up, some more, some less, because it depends where they start. But I believe also that that's the most fun way of doing it, because then you can be a part of their whole process, the whole journey.
Yes.
Once again, like I said, I mean, on Elixir Colbert, I don't do this for the money, because then I should sit with papers instead. So I left there to be more educated myself and to get more experience. And it's the same thing when we work. It's like, yeah, we need money to have food and shelter and stuff like that, because we can't always put the knife on our throats because then we get stressed out instead. But then again, the high five, the thank you, the dear comments that you get from helping other people, that's the real payment in our job. Totally. I believe. I always believe that. I know that you do too, because I mean, the sheer happiness of seeing someone that have been in pain or have struggled with different mental issues, that also with the other pain in the body and other stuff.
Yeah.
When they find balance in their lives, it's like it's everything is worth the work.
Yeah, exactly. Their gratitude, appreciation, and recognition of your wisdom, your knowledge, your efforts, right, and your caring, your love. That's what makes it worth it. When both me and Johan get messages from clients, or clients tell you face to face, it's like, praise the Lord, right? My nervous system just lights up, and I'm like, like it's hard work. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of learning. It takes some sacrifice, right? It takes whatever it takes as it does. But getting those comments or the messages, whatever, right? Their feedback or their thoughts, right? That makes everything worthwhile. And all the stress we've experienced, and like the financial destitution at times. Then when you get these messages, you're like, it was all worth it. It's okay. We're good.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why. And also, I think that's also why I changed my shift towards more. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter your gender, or it doesn't matter. You're a human being, and I want to help you to become you. And find your balance.
Totally.
Whatever you want to do, and the most fun thing, I think, is that someone believes that, I want to be a better runner, or I want to be better at my sports, or I want to be better, and they come, and then I see all the flaws they have in their body, and they realize, and you can see the shift after a couple of times when they believe in that what we are doing is the right path.
Yeah.
And it's also super much fun, because you can see when their mind is come back and they say something that you brought up 2 months ago.
Exactly. Yeah.
With their own words instead.
It's awesome to see these like light bulb moments in clients when they finally put it together. Because we all have that when we're doing this type of work, where like it can be after some months, but I've also, which you will experience or have experienced, like it can come after a year and a half, where one of my clients was like, oh yeah, I finally get it. And I because now I've experienced it, and I'm just like, hallelujah, here we go. Right. And that's the thing, like you want to lead them to their own experience, right? Which is also why I wanted to have Johan on, so he can share his experience and his development, and how his clients are responding to this new approach, and why you're designing and structuring your life the way you are so you can bring this to more people, right? So in the upcoming projects, right? So are there things you want to announce or talk about already from where you're planning on taking this from where you're at now to where it's going to go in the future?
Yeah, I have an app coming out really soon. Just a beta version. It's only going to be in Swedish.
That's okay.
yeah. It's going to be in Swedish, at least at the start. I think it's always going to be in Swedish, but that's our main goal now, because now I have full clients again. I'm at almost at Carl Berner amount. Now I have a family, so it's a lot of work. We are looking at a place to start where we are in Umeå or Venice, just because just to then I can have the app that gets more people around Sweden that can come and meet us for me. But I want to, in my nearest community, I want to change the perception of how we think about training, because training isn't always or most and foremost about muscle mass and fat percentage. There's a lot of people still that believe that it's just about that. It's some, because health will show on your body. A body that's feeling good also looks good. It does.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but and then the app, and then I'm gonna start producing a PT education.
Nice.
I don't want to put it out there, but because I'm still a bit nervous about that, because it's a lot of work. But
yeah,
I want this how we look at it, and how we I want more of us.
Yeah, completely. A more holistic and natural approach and humane, right?
Yeah, then we can help more people. If we get more people that, because Sim doesn't know it, I presented him to him earlier that I want him to be one of the teachers. That's still on.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's still on. But if we can teach people how to work with other people, it can be more like this type of work, and we can have a better society of healthier and happier people.
Yeah,
and that's what I want.
And it starts with, like, that's the beauty of having your own space and having your own app, right? App first, space second, and then being able to scale that to that degree that you're helping other trainers or coaches, PTs to get to this information and that approach and make it their own, and so that it can do better work, right? Make people feel better.
Yeah. And I also think that's the way I think that people or I mean our clients and stuff like that, I believe that that's why you have so much work to do, because people need, and it's even shown after this pandemic is over.
Yeah.
This health is your number one option.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be anything else. If you don't, like everyone says, if you don't have your health, then what do you got? What do you
nothing.
got?
Exactly.
You got nothing. I mean, it doesn't matter how, because health is feeling good, making great, be around your loved ones, do whatever you want to do with yourself, and so health is number one. You can't vote down health.
No, and you can't negotiate with it. It's either, there or not, or being built towards or moving away from, right? It's not waiting for you.
No, definitely not.
All righty.
Your choice.
Yeah, man. With that, is there anything you want to, like, anything else you want to share?
No, I just want to say thank you for bringing me on.
My pleasure, bro.
I love this.
I'm glad we got the chance to do it. Oh, I'm sure we'll have like future recorded conversations.
I love this, Sim, and I love you, Sim.
I love you too, bro.
Thank you so much for having me on.
My pleasure. Where can people find you, right? So I will for sure link everything in the YouTube description, but just plug it here.
Yeah, it's at Nordic underline Halsa on Instagram, and it's Nordic Halsa with an E in Swedish. It's an A with 2 dots on above. Strength through movement or styrka genom rörelse on Facebook. So that's basically where I'm. Yeah. I'm not a fan of social media. I try to post some pictures sometimes and say some things sometimes, but the family takes time and the work takes time. So I lack creativity on posting stuff. So
it'll come with the app.
yeah, I hope so, because that will
for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome, bro. Thank you so much for coming on. Right, when the app and the space are done, like I'll update the description so everything's gonna be in there for everyone, and then they can contact you right when they're interested and want to know more. So there we go, bro. Have a great day. The sun is shining, right? So I know you're making the most of that, and I know you're off today. So have a good time with the family and out the doors, and then we will catch up soon.
Absolutely. See you, brother.
See you, bro.
Thank you.